The bright morning sun cast long shadows across the Earth Defense Force headquarters as Captain John Reed stared at the strange readings on his monitor. For the third time that week, the deep space sensors had picked up unusual energy patterns just beyond Mars' orbit. These weren't like anything they had seen before. "Sir, you need to see this," called out Mike from his station. The young radar technician's voice trembled slightly. "The signal. It's changing." Reed walked over, his boots clicking against the polished floor. The blip on the screen had transformed into a clear pattern. 3 massive ships entering the solar system in perfect formation. Their size made Earth's largest ships look like toys in comparison. "Get the general on the line," Reed ordered, keeping his voice steady despite the flutter of nervous energy in his stomach. "And someone turn on the coffee machine. I have a feeling this is going to be a long day." Within hours, the alien ships had positioned themselves in high Earth orbit. The world held its breath. Military forces across the globe went on high alert, but the visitors made no aggressive moves. Instead, they broadcast a simple message in perfect English. "People of Earth, we come seeking knowledge and friendship. We are the Varians, and we bring greetings from the Galactic Assembly." The message repeated in every major language on Earth. The aliens had clearly been studying humanity for some time. In the chaos that followed, Captain Reed found himself chosen as humanity's first official contact. His record of calm decision-making and diplomatic handling of international space incidents made him the perfect candidate. As he sat in the shuttle rising through the atmosphere, he tried to remember all his training. Not that any training could have prepared him for meeting actual aliens. The inside of the alien ship looked nothing like the sci-fi movies. Instead of cold metal and blinking lights, the walls seemed alive with shifting colors that reminded Reed of the Northern Lights. The air smelled like a spring morning after rain. Ambassador Till of the Varians stood nearly 7 feet tall, with smooth blue-tinted skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Its 4 eyes blinked in an alternating pattern that Reed found slightly hypnotic. "Captain Reed," the alien spoke, its voice carrying a musical quality. "We have watched your species for some time, trying to understand something that puzzles us greatly." Reed maintained his professional composure. "And what would that be, Ambassador?" Tell gestured to a wall, which suddenly came alive with images, Earth's greatest artworks floating past like a digital museum. The Mona Lisa, Van Gogh's Starry Night, cave paintings from ancient times, modern street art, and countless other masterpieces. In all our travels across 12,000 worlds, we have never encountered beings who create like humans do. Your art, your music, your stories. They carry an energy we cannot explain. Tell's eyes showed what Reed interpreted as wonder. "Even this room's colors respond to your presence differently than any species we have encountered." Reed looked around and noticed the wall patterns had indeed changed, becoming more vibrant and complex. "Art is simply how we express ourselves, Ambassador. It's part of being human." "That is precisely what fascinates us," Tell replied. "Your species creates not just for function, but for something you call beauty. You make music not just for communication, but for something you call joy. These concepts, they are unique in all our explorations." The meeting stretched for hours as Tal asked question after question about human creativity. Reed found himself explaining everything from children's drawings to symphony orchestras. With each explanation, the aliens' fascination seemed to grow. As Reed prepared to return to Earth, Tal made an unexpected request. "Captain, we wish to establish an embassy on Earth, not just for diplomatic relations, but to study this extraordinary gift your species possesses. We believe humanity holds something precious beyond measure, though you may not even realize it." Reed smiled. Of all the ways he had imagined first contact going, he never thought Earth's art galleries would be more interesting to aliens than its military bases or scientific achievements. As his shuttle descended back through the atmosphere, he wondered what other surprises this new era would bring. The world was about to change forever, and it would do so not with a bang of weapons, but with a symphony of human creativity. Professor James Walker never expected to become Earth's artistic ambassador to the stars. Yet here he stood in the newly constructed Galactic Cultural Center, surrounded by Earth's greatest masterpieces, preparing to give his first tour to a group of alien visitors. The building itself was a marvel, built in just 2 months using alien technology. Its walls could change transparency to let in natural light, and the floors adjusted their softness to match each visitor's preferred walking surface. Today, the main hall housed everything from Renaissance paintings to modern digital art. "Are you ready, Professor?" asked Captain Reed, who had become the official liaison between Earth and the Varians. "They're particularly excited about the music section." Walker nodded, straightening his worn tweed jacket. "As ready as I'll ever be to explain Mozart to beings from another planet." The Varian delegation entered, their tall forms moving with fluid grace. Behind them came representatives from 3 other alien species who had arrived in the past week. The news of Earth's artistic treasures had spread quickly through the galaxy. "Welcome," Walker began, his voice steady despite his nerves. "Today we'll explore how humans express themselves through art. Let's start with something simple." He led them to a children's art display, showing drawings made by 5-year-olds. Tal stepped forward, all 4 eyes focused intently on a crayon drawing of a family standing under a rainbow. This was made by a young human, without any technical training or purpose. "Yes," Walker smiled. "Children create naturally. It's how they understand and share their world." One of the other aliens, a crystalline being called Root, produced a harmonious chiming sound that their translator rendered as, "But how do they know what to create when no one has given them instructions?" Walker picked up a piece of chalk and drew a simple smiley face on a nearby board. "We don't need instructions to create. We just do it. Here, would you like to try?" The aliens stared at the chalk he offered as if it were some advanced technology. Finally, Root took it, their crystalline fingers clicking against the chalk. They studied the smiley face for a long moment, then made a perfect copy. "No," Walker shook his head gently. "Don't copy. Draw something new. Anything you want." Root seemed confused. "But what is the correct thing to draw?" "There is no correct thing. That's what makes it art. Here." Walker took another piece of chalk and quickly sketched a funny creature with 3 legs and a long neck. "I just made that up. It doesn't exist. That's imagination." The aliens murmured among themselves, clearly struggling with the concept. Tal spoke up. "You create things that don't exist, without a purpose." "The purpose is joy," Walker explained. "The purpose is expression. Here, let me show you something else." He led them to the music section, where a grand piano stood in the center of the room. "This is one of our musical instruments." Walker sat down and began to play a simple melody he had composed years ago. The aliens' reactions were immediate and stunning. The Varian's skin began to glow with shifting colors. Root's crystalline form vibrated in harmony with the notes, and the other aliens showed their own signs of deep response. "This pattern of sounds," Tal said when the music ended, "you created it yourself. It wasn't mathematically calculated for maximum efficiency." "No, I created it because it expressed how I felt one morning watching the sunrise." The aliens spent the next hour asking detailed questions about composition, creativity, and the concept of musical inspiration. Walker demonstrated how the same piece could be played differently to express different emotions, a concept that particularly amazed them. As the tour ended, Root approached Walker privately. "Professor, we have traveled to thousands of worlds. We have seen species that can bend space, create artificial suns, and build planets. But we have never encountered beings who can create something from nothing, who can make beauty simply because they wish to. This gift your species has. It is extraordinary." Walker watched the aliens leave, thinking about how he had never considered humanity's creativity as particularly special. Now, seeing it through alien eyes, he began to understand just how unique and precious this gift truly was. Dr. Anna Brown stood in her lab, watching the holographic display with wide eyes. The neural scan results from the creativity study couldn't be right, but she had checked them 5 times already. Next to her, the Varian scientist Pell stared at the same readings, all 4 eyes blinking rapidly in excitement. "Run it again," Anna said, pushing her glasses up her nose. "I want to be absolutely sure." They watched as the volunteer, a young painter named Jack, created art while the advanced alien scanner monitored his brain activity. The display showed waves of brilliant energy patterns that neither human nor alien technology had ever detected before. "This is impossible," Pell whispered, their blue skin pulsing with patches of gold, a sign of extreme excitement in Varians. "The energy signature matches the soul light perfectly." "Soul light?" Anna asked, making notes on her tablet. "You've mentioned that before, but never explained what it is." Pell touched a crystal on their wrist, and a small vial of shimmering liquid appeared. It gave off a soft, peaceful glow that seemed to warm the room just by existing. "This is artificial soul light. My people have spent thousands of years learning to make it. This small vial took 10 years to produce." Anna watched as Jack continued painting, his brain scan showing waves of energy that looked exactly like the light from Pell's vial. "And you're saying humans just naturally produce this?" "Only when creating," Pell corrected. "Watch what happens when I ask him to copy something instead of creating original art." The alien scientist handed Jack a picture to copy. Immediately, the energy patterns changed. The brilliant waves disappeared, replaced by simple neural activity. "We need to tell the others," Pell said, already sending messages through their communication device. "This changes everything." Within hours, the lab was packed with alien scientists and human officials. Captain Reed and Professor Walker had been called in as well. The room buzzed with excitement as Pell explained their discovery. "For millennia, soul light has been the most precious substance in the galaxy," Pell explained to the humans. "It powers our most advanced healing technology. It allows us to create sustainable ecosystems on dead worlds. It lets us communicate across vast distances instantly. But we could never produce enough. And now you're saying humans naturally make this energy when we create art?" Captain Reed asked, looking concerned. He had seen enough sci-fi movies to worry about where this might lead. "Not just art," Anna added, pulling up more scan results. "Look at these readings from a musician composing a new song. And these from a writer working on a story. Even this child drawing with crayons. They all produce the same energy." Professor Walker stepped closer to the displays. "That's why you were so interested in our art. You weren't just fascinated by creativity itself. You could somehow sense this energy." "Yes," Pell admitted. "Our species is naturally sensitive to soul light. Being near human creativity feels incredible to us. It's like standing in warm sunlight after years of darkness." Anna pulled up one final set of readings. "There's more. Look what happens when humans work together creatively." The display showed a scan of a small band practicing a new song. The energy patterns were even stronger, weaving together in complex ways. "In all our searching across the galaxy," Pell said softly, "we never imagined finding a species that could produce soul light naturally, let alone in such abundance. Your art galleries, your concert halls, your libraries, they're not just cultural centers to us. They're like finding an ocean of pure starlight." The room fell quiet as everyone absorbed the implications. Humanity had just discovered they naturally produced the most valuable substance in the galaxy, simply by being creative. "We need to be careful how we share this information," Captain Reed finally said. "If this soul light is as valuable as you say, others will come," Pell finished grimly. "And not all of them will be as interested in cultural exchange as we are." The humans exchanged worried looks. Their gift of creativity, something they had always taken for granted, was about to make Earth the most important planet in the galaxy. Whether that was a blessing or a curse remained to be seen. The emergency meeting room at Earth Defense Force headquarters was packed. Captain Reeves stood at the window, watching the night sky where dozens of alien ships now hung in orbit like new stars. In just 1 week since the Soul Light discovery became public, ships from 30 different alien civilizations had arrived at Earth. Another mining corporation has requested landing rights, announced General Harris, tossing a tablet onto the conference table. This one's offering advanced technology in exchange for what they call creativity harvesting rights. Professor Walker shuddered at the term. Next to him, Dr. Anna Brown was reviewing reports from around the world. "We've had 3 attempted break-ins at art schools this week," she said, "and someone tried to kidnap a children's choir in Vienna." Pell, their Varian ally, paced the room nervously. Their usual blue skin had turned a dark gray, a sign of deep distress. "The consortium is behind this. They control most of the artificial soul light production in the galaxy. They won't let go of their monopoly easily." A holographic display in the center of the table showed the latest incident. Alien devices appearing in parks and public spaces, trying to secretly collect the soul light energy produced by children playing and creating. "At least we caught those quickly," Reed said, turning from the window. Thanks to the detection technology the Varians shared. The door burst open, and Mike from radar control rushed in. "Sir, you need to see this." He quickly pulled up a new hologram showing a massive ship emerging from faster-than-light travel. It was bigger than any they had seen before, shaped like a giant black cube. "The consortium's flagship," Pell whispered, their voice shaking. "They'd never leave their home system unless—" They couldn't finish the sentence. The ship's message came shortly after, broadcasting on all frequencies. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Resource Consortium. Your planet has been designated as a Class 1 resource world. We will begin establishing creativity extraction facilities within 24 hours. Resistance will result in immediate regulatory action." "They can't do this," Professor Walker protested. "Earth isn't some mining colony. We're talking about human beings." "They don't care," Pell explained. "To them, soul light is just a resource. They'd stripped entire worlds of their natural resources before. But this would be much worse." Dr. Brown pulled up images from Pell's database showing the consortium's extraction facilities on other worlds. They looked like horrible mixtures of prisons and factories. "They want to turn our artists and children into soul light production machines," she said quietly. "Over my dead body," General Harris growled, standing up. "We may not have their technology, but Earth won't go down without a fight." Captain Reed raised his hand for quiet as another message came in. This one was from the Varian High Council. "Earth has been accepted as a protected member of the Galactic Assembly. Any hostile action against its people will be considered an act of war. That will slow them down," Pell said, their color improving slightly. "But the consortium has ways of working around laws. They'll try to buy people off, create puppet companies, or worse." "Then we need to be smarter," Dr. Brown said suddenly, her eyes lighting up with an idea. "They'd want soul light. Let's show them what human creativity can really do when it's threatened." She quickly explained her plan. The room grew quiet as everyone realized it might actually work. They would fight the consortium not with weapons, but with humanity's greatest strength, their endless ability to create and imagine. "It's risky," Captain Reed said finally, "but it's better than becoming corporate slaves. Professor Walker, can you get the world's artistic community on board?" Walker smiled for the first time that day. "Are you kidding? Artists love nothing more than fighting against corporate control. Give me 2 hours and every creative person on Earth will be ready to help." As they broke up to put their plan into action, Reed looked back at the night sky. The consortium's ship now blocked out a patch of stars like a hole in the heavens. But Earth wasn't about to let its creative spirit be caged or controlled. The real fight was just beginning. Nobody expected the first successful defense against the consortium to come from a street artist in New York. Tom Miller was just doing what he loved, painting the giant mural on the side of an old building. When it happened, the consortium's harvester drones had appeared suddenly, floating down from the sky like black metal snowflakes. They were designed to collect soul light energy from unwilling creators, a technology they had used on other worlds. But they hadn't counted on what would happen when they tried to harvest pure, defiant human creativity. Tom didn't run. Instead, he grabbed his brightest colors and started painting faster, bigger, with more passion than ever before. His mural, which had started as a simple pattern, transformed into an explosion of color and emotion. It showed scenes of human creativity throughout history, cave paintings, symphonies, dance, poetry, all flowing together in a river of art. The drones moved closer, their collection fields activating. Then something extraordinary happened. The energy readings are off the charts. Dr. Brown shouted in the monitoring station across town, "Look at the soul light levels." On her screens, the measurements were climbing higher than anything they had ever recorded. Tom's act of creative defiance was producing more soul light than an entire consortium harvesting facility. But instead of being collected by the drones, the energy was doing something else. A shimmering barrier of light burst from Tom's mural, spreading outward like ripples in a pond. Where it touched the drones, they simply stopped working, falling from the sky like dead leaves. "It's not just him anymore," Professor Walker reported, watching other readings. "Look at what's happening around the city." All across New York, artists were fighting back in their own ways. Street musicians played battle songs that created shields of pure sound. Dance troupes performed in parks, their movements generating waves of protective energy. Writers in coffee shops typed furiously, their stories somehow connecting with the growing web of creative power. Captain Reed's voice crackled over the radio. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up. The consortium ships can't penetrate these energy fields." The Varian scientists were amazed. Pell could barely speak as they recorded the events. "This is impossible. Soul light isn't supposed to work this way. It's just an energy source, not a weapon." "It's not a weapon," Dr. Brown corrected, smiling as she watched the readings. "It's pure creation. Humans aren't just making soul light, we're shaping it. We're turning it into art itself." The movement spread across the globe. In Paris, painters turned the entire city into a canvas, creating a dome of protective light. In Tokyo, video game designers and anime artists combined their talents to generate shields that looked like something from their stories. Children's chalk drawings on sidewalks created barriers that even the consortium's most powerful ships couldn't break through. Tom, still painting his mural, had no idea he had started it all. He just knew that as long as he kept creating, kept expressing himself, the drones couldn't touch him. His mural had grown to cover 3 buildings now, and other artists had joined him, adding their own touches to the massive artwork. In orbit, the consortium flagship tried to breach Earth's atmosphere, only to be met by a planet wrapped in layers of living art. Every attempt to break through was met with new bursts of creative energy as humans below responded with more art, more music, more dance, more stories. "They're pulling back," General Harris announced as the massive cubic ship began to retreat. "All consortium ships are withdrawing." The celebration was cut short by a new alert. Dr. Brown's face grew serious as she checked the readings. The creative defense worked, but it did something else too. Something bigger. The Soul Light Network. It's starting to change people. Not just humans, but the aliens in orbit too. "Change them how?" Captain Reed asked. "I don't know," she admitted. "But whatever's happening, it's spreading across the entire planet and beyond." The creative defense had worked, but it had also started something nobody could have predicted. Earth's art wasn't just protecting humanity anymore. It was transforming the galaxy itself. 3 months after the failed consortium invasion, Dr. Anna Brown couldn't believe what she was seeing in the reports. The wave of creative energy that had protected Earth hadn't stopped at the planet's edge. Instead, it had sparked something unprecedented across the galaxy. "Look at this," she said, showing the latest images to Captain Reed and Professor Walker. "This is from a Varian colony world." The holographic display showed alien children finger painting with glowing materials. Their art wasn't perfect copies like before. It was wild, imaginative, and completely original. Around them, the air shimmered with natural soul light. "They're creating on their own," Professor Walker whispered in awe. "They learned from us." Pell rushed into the room, their skin flickering with excited patterns. "You won't believe what's happening on my homeworld. The Great Logic Council has approved arts education in all schools. They're even building music halls." More reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Species that had relied on pure logic and efficiency for millennia were discovering their own creative sparks. The soul-light barriers that had protected Earth had somehow awakened something long dormant in other races. "The consortium is in chaos," Captain Reed said, reading from his tablet. "Their artificial soul-light facilities are shutting down because nobody wants to buy it anymore. Everyone's too busy making their own." They watched footage from various alien worlds. A crystalline species had discovered they could sing, their bodies resonating with beautiful tones. A race of floating gas beings was creating incredible light shows in their atmosphere. Even the most logical and mechanical species were finding ways to express themselves. "But this is my favorite," Dr. Brown said, pulling up one last video. It showed the massive consortium flagship, the same cubic ship that had threatened Earth. It was being transformed by its own crew. The black surface was now covered in swirling colors and patterns as the consortium workers discovered their own artistic sides. "Some of them are requesting asylum on Earth," Reed explained. "They want to learn more about art and creativity. They're calling Earth the cradle of imagination." Professor Walker had just returned from a galaxy-wide cultural conference. "Every species is discovering their own unique way of being creative," he reported. "They're not just copying humans anymore." That burst of soul light somehow woke something up inside them. "But how is this possible?" Pell asked, still watching the videos in amazement. "Our scientists always said some species were simply incapable of creative thought." "Maybe they were wrong," Dr. Brown suggested. "Maybe creativity isn't just a human trait. It's a universal potential that just needed a spark to ignite it. Earth provided that spark." They were interrupted by an alert from the newly established Galactic Arts Council. Young aliens across the galaxy were rebelling against their traditional roles. Instead of following predetermined career paths, they were becoming artists, musicians, writers, and dancers. Some called it a crisis. Others called it a renaissance. The old Varian teaching said that chaos would destroy civilization, Pell admitted. But look at this. Creation is bringing us all together instead. Through their windows, they could see the changes on Earth too. The sky was filled with beautiful alien art installations. Parks hosted concerts where human and alien musicians played together. Streets were full of hybrid art styles that had never existed before. "To think the consortium wanted to harvest and control all this," Captain Reed said, shaking his head. "They never understood. Creativity can't be contained. It has to be free." "And now it is," Professor Walker added, "not just on Earth, but everywhere." Dr. Brown finished analyzing her latest readings. The soul light levels across the galaxy were higher than ever, but it was different now. It wasn't just human creativity anymore. It was the combined creative energy of thousands of species, each adding their own unique voice to the universal song. The galaxy was changing, becoming more colorful, more musical, more alive. And it had all started because humanity refused to let their creative spirit be caged. 1 year after Earth's creative defense changed the galaxy, the Galactic Creative Commons space station opened its doors. The massive structure, floating in Earth's orbit, looked like no other space station ever built. Its shape constantly shifted, its outer walls displaying art from thousands of worlds, its halls filled with music from across the universe. Tom Miller, The street artist whose mural had first unlocked creativity's true power stood at the station's main window. Below him, Earth glowed blue and green, now surrounded by a gentle shimmer of creative energy that never faded. "Hard to believe it all started with some spray paint and a blank wall," he said to Captain Reed, who had become a close friend over the past year. "The best things often start simple," Reed replied, watching a group of alien children float past. They were playing a new game they had invented, their bodies trailing streams of colored light. "Did you see the latest soul light readings?" Dr. Brown joined them, holding her ever-present tablet. "The numbers are amazing. Natural soul light production is 1,000,000 times higher than what the consortium ever managed to make artificially. But more importantly, look at this." She showed them a map of the galaxy. Streams of creative energy flowed between worlds like rivers of light, connecting different species and civilizations in ways never seen before. "The Galactic Creative Network," Professor Walker explained as he walked up. He had just finished teaching an art class to a mixed group of humans and aliens. "It's not just about making soul light anymore. It's about sharing ideas, inspiring each other, growing together." Through another window, they could see Pell leading a tour. The Varian had discovered a talent for dance, combining their natural color-changing abilities with movement to create stunning performances. A group of young consortium members followed them, their once rigid forms now relaxed and curious. "Remember how they wanted to put our artists in harvesting facilities?" Tom asked. "Now they're lining up to learn finger painting and poetry." The station's main hall was hosting the first Galactic Arts Festival. Creatures of all shapes and sizes shared their creative works. A group of gas beings performed a symphony of light and color. Crystalline artists built impossible sculptures that sang when touched. Human children taught alien friends to make paper airplanes, which flew with unexpected grace in the low gravity. The old consortium leadership finally surrendered, Reed announced, checking his messages. "They're converting their last harvesting facility into an arts education center." Dr. Brown's tablet beeped with new data. "Look at this. The creative energy network is actually making faster-than-light travel more efficient. Ships riding the soul light streams can travel 10 times faster than before." "Not just that," Professor Walker added. "The healing properties of soul light are stronger too. Hospitals using creative therapy are reporting recovery rates we never thought possible." They watched as a new ship docked at the station. It was from a previously unknown civilization that had detected the creative energy network and followed it to its source. Earth was no longer just another planet. It had become a beacon of imagination for the entire galaxy. "You know what the best part is?" Tom said, pulling out his sketchbook. He still preferred old-fashioned paper and pencil. "We didn't have to fight a war. We didn't have to prove we were stronger or smarter or more advanced. We just had to be ourselves." Through the window, Earth's creative aura pulsed gently, its light reaching out to touch distant stars. In classrooms across the galaxy, young aliens learned about the day when humanity showed the universe that the greatest power wasn't in weapons or technology, or even soul light itself. It was in the simple, endless ability to imagine and create. "So what's next?" Reed asked, watching Tom start a new sketch. "What's always next?" Tom replied with a smile. "We keep creating. We keep imagining. We keep dreaming. And now, the whole galaxy dreams with us." Above them, the station's walls shifted into new patterns as artists from 1,000 worlds shared their visions. The age of logic and cold efficiency was over. The age of creativity had begun, and it would never end.